In Escape from Tarkov, one thing that can heavily prevent you from progressing is lacking the necessary keys required for tasks. Many of the game's tasks, even early ones, require you to access a locked room, usually located somewhere like Customs Dorms or Shoreline Resort. By not having the appropriate keys, your task progression will be blocked, so you need to either find one yourself or purchase one off the market. But purchasing these keys can sometimes be nearly impossible, as most players will only put them on the market as trades for other extremely rare items. So today, I'm going to show you what I do in order to find keys for any of the game's tasks. Before we get into it, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/GiantBusak or on TikTok under the same name. There are two primary ways to find keys in EFT, in the pockets and bags of scavs and in jackets. When it comes to scavs, just make sure you search them thoroughly each time you kill one. Keys don't very commonly spawn on them, but when they do, it's usually a valuable one. As our main focus, we'll be talking about jackets, the primary way of looting all the game's keys. Jackets exist all throughout the game on every map in various places, but there are a few maps which I find a bit more effective for key farming than others. Let's start off on customs, specifically dorms. Here exists the largest density of jackets anywhere in the game. There are almost 30 jackets in total between the two buildings, almost all of which are hanging in unlocked rooms. That means you have nearly 30 chances to find a quest key, a key to a loot room, or even one of the many marked keys. The rooms you'll need to search are 3-story 101, 104, 105, 202, 205, 221, 301, and 310, and 2-story 108, 202, 211 in the second floor bathroom. There's also 2-story 104 and 3-story 118 and 220, but these rooms require a key to access. But luckily, these keys are usually fairly cheap if you want to maximize your key looting chances. The great thing about looting keys in dorms is that the majority of these jackets are overlooked by players. They'll often check the more obvious ones, such as 202 and 3-story, but the majority of the other ones are ignored. Most players are either going to dorms to hit safes, check for Reshala, or just look for PvP. This means it's even worth doing a pass on the jackets if you get there later in the raid, because they're probably not all hit. If you enjoy running scavs, it's also a great time to hit jackets, especially nighttime when raids are more empty. For this method, and any of the methods moving forward, I highly recommend investing in a docks case as soon as you're able to in order to store as many looted keys in your secure container as possible. In order to have the quickest key runs, I'd also recommend always bringing money to take the car extract if it's available. Next up is Interchange. On this map, generally, players tend to gravitate towards the three outer stores, Idea, Ollie, and Goshen. Players will pass through the central area of the mall to complete quests and hunt for scavs, but the stores themselves are typically considered lackluster loot-wise. But hidden throughout a few of these stores are jackets, most of which you typically won't see get looted. There are about 15 in the center of the mall, which can quickly be hit in a single lap. Your most direct path would to be hit the stores in this order or similar. Generic with 1 jacket, Attic with 4 jackets, National with 2 jackets, Mantis with 2 jackets, Voyage with 2 jackets, and the 2 jackets outside of Emercom Medical. Since the path is so quick and you can store keys in your secure container, you could run this lap and then extract at the no backpack extract for a quick key run. If you also like scavving on Interchange, hitting these would be a good use of your time since you usually spawn right in the middle of the mall anyways. It's also worth mentioning that there are a few jackets at the power station, one in the offices between Ollie and Goshen, and one on the second floor by the middle large window at the front of the mall. But if you're trying to keep your key runs quick, I'd probably recommend ignoring these outliers unless you happen to pass by them, since they are so far away from the rest. Next up is Shoreline. While many players are rushing the resort for various reasons, if you're key farming, you're going to want to head to the village to the west. Scattered throughout the village, there are around 20 lootable jackets that can be hit in quick succession. The exact locations of the jackets are pretty spread out, so I'll just put them on screen now rather than trying to put it into words. I definitely recommend utilizing Map Genie at first to learn all the locations, since these can be a little more difficult to memorize than dorms or Interchange. Try to start on one side of the village and hit all the jackets in one sweep. Unless you spawn on the eastern side of the map, you can actually do some pretty quick runs here, thanks to Path to Lighthouse extract always being available. PvP is a little less common here than most areas of the map, unless you catch someone right off their spawn. There's also a fair bit of other loot scattered throughout, but the village isn't typically considered a loot-heavy, high-traffic area. For any of these runs, you can take the approach of simply rushing through them and then resetting to get as many keys as possible, or just making it part of each raid you do on one of these maps. Like I said for each, these jackets typically are not all hit by players. Of course, the standout ones that are directly in typical player paths might be hit, but most of the others won't be. That being said, you definitely don't need to rush over to them if you don't want to. Perhaps focus on a quest, and when you complete or acquire your quest objective, hit the key run before you extract. Regardless of how you approach these runs, they're good to memorize and make habit of, as you're going to need a lot of keys, which are a hassle to get your hands on. It's also worth noting that there are a few quest keys which have static spawns throughout the game, an example being the machinery key which spawns in the brown jacket in 3-story dorms room 205. It can also be found other places, but as long as another player hasn't already looted it, it's guaranteed to spawn in that jacket every raid. For any quest key, make sure to check the Tarkov wiki to see if it has a guaranteed or common spawn listed. I also want to bring up the topic of filing cabinets. Recently, there was a change that was implemented which caused keys to have a very high spawn rate in filing cabinets. You could actually loot keys faster than in jackets while this change was active, but it seems this change was reverted within the same day. While I'm not sure if this change was a mistake or if it will be back in the future, I wanted to make a point to mention it. Changes like these come and go all the time it seems, so just keep an eye out for any sort of fluctuations in loot probabilities throughout the wipe. And that's going to be it for this video. While these aren't the only ways to farm keys in EFT, they're the couple methods that I believe to be the easiest and most effective to learn. If you have any different methods that you utilize, definitely share them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know them as well. But thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.